All right, guys, so as far as your homework goes, I want you to go to your reflections tab, okay? And I want you to write down lesson 1, because lesson 1 is then going to connect with lesson 1 in your mini lesson. I also want you to write down the book that you're reading at the top so you know what book this work that you're doing goes with. Okay, some of you know your book right now, some of you don't know. This is my super messy page that I didn't start until yesterday, and I was on about page 50 of my book yesterday when I started doing this. So it's kind of, my thinking's kind of all over the place. So the book that I'm reading is called The Librarian of Auschwitz, and it's based on a true story about a girl. Her name is Adida, but she goes by Dita. Who pretty much takes care of the 8 books that they have in Auschwitz, and it's this huge secret. So what was happening in my book yesterday was there was an inspection, and Dr. Mengele was there. And for those of you who don't know Mengele, he was a doctor at Auschwitz who performed like really nasty things to children who were, I guess, living in the camp. So he ends up finding Dita, and he basically talks to her and says, "I'm watching you." So one of my questions I have is Mengele going to take her, and why does he have his eye out for her? Because he was very clear that he was watching her. And she's also kind of got this attitude that I'm wondering, I wonder if this attitude will get her into a sticky situation. So one thing that you guys have probably worked on in the past, and I know that you have in here, it was at the beginning of the year, is that when you're reading, you should always be asking yourself questions. You should be thinking in the back of your head, like, what's going on, or how do these things connect together? So writing those things down is going to help you kind of pinpoint things a little bit better. I know that even though I'm a strong reader, I forget things if I don't write them down. Things that I think that I'm going to remember that maybe become important. So I also made a section for things that I noticed about my character. One of the things that I noticed is that she's super brave. She is the librarian of these 8 books that have been smuggled in through time into Auschwitz, and if they get found, basically they face obviously consequences. So I figured that she's brave, and then I kind of started to go out to the fact that she shows in the book that she goes to the length of risking her life for others. She's scared. She's brave, but she's scared. So I know that I wanted to write down, she wants to give up being the librarian, but she doesn't want to look weak. And so that I noticed that as her personality as a character, her trait kind of starts to show that she cares what other people think about her. She doesn't want to give up and have people look at her as a weak link. She's also witty. She's funny in the way that she does things. She's clever in the way that she thinks about things. So, for example, when her train car was shipped in, the bunk that she now resides in, there wasn't a lot of bunks, but there was a lot of chaos. And she notices and talks about how she notices that the top bunk seems like the place to be, because that's where the veterans who have been there longest try to get. So I noticed that she's clever. That kind of goes with here. She's observant, and she notices details in other people. She gives them nicknames based on the things that she observes. I feel like at some point in the story this is going to become very important, so I wrote it down. Auschwitz, from what I know about it, it doesn't seem as bad as she's describing it to be. It's obviously super bad, but I've noticed that I'm learning things that I didn't know before. So this might be something that I also continue to talk about. I wrote kind of sloppy, so as I continued to read, so this guy, Freddie Hirsch, his name is Alfred, and he was mentioned on the first page and then started going by Freddie. And at about page 50, I found that I kept confusing myself, who is this guy? Is he good? Is he bad? So I went back and I started to write down things that I knew about him that I had learned, so that I could kind of make sure that I was comprehending the things that I was supposed to be comprehending the right way. And then I continued to get introduced to all of these other characters. And I'm still at the beginning of my book where the plot is starting to kind of rise in conflict. So I'm making sure that I'm writing down multiple characters in order to make sure that I know their importance. So you don't have to do this much work for your homework tonight, but it is like a reflection tool. These are some of the things that I would probably bring to my book club and start talking about the way that I'm kind of talking to them with you right now. If you want to do something easy and you're not sure where to start, you might take some sticky notes today and write down questions like things I've noticed that seem important. You might write down things that you're learning about your main character. I've come across a couple quotes that have absolutely stuck out to me. I might write those down and say why they're important. I might also make a question list, things that I don't understand, I don't know where places are, etc. And then I know last time in our character unit when we were starting, we did something like we would write the character's name in the middle. And then we kind of branched out and named their traits, and then maybe named like the info. The info that went along to name how we knew this was a trait. So again, make this notebook your own, but your homework is to write a reflection. Okay, have some type of a page, so have some type of your thinking jotted down. And then read 20 minutes at home, so outside of school, and then somehow work on your reflection. I want you to take your notebooks with you today when you read, so that you're reflecting as you read right away. And I would say maybe like every chapter, every, 10, 15 pages, you might stop and jot if you forget. Is one good way to remind yourself how to do that. Otherwise, each time you just have a thought that you feel like, yeah, I should probably write that down, it seems important, write it down, bring it to your club next time, and I'll see you later this week. Thanks.